Inside the prison that never sleeps. When the lights never truly go dark, time begins to lose its meaning. Behind the walls of Stateville Prison, every sound echoes through decades of history. But one question remains. What is life really like inside one of America's most recognized maximum security prisons? Long before sunrise, Stateville Correctional Center is already awake. Floodlights cast long shadows across rows of concrete buildings. Security cameras silently watch every entrance. Correctional officers begin changing shifts, while the rest of the world is still asleep. Heavy steel doors open and close with familiar precision, echoing through hallways that have witnessed generations of inmates, officers, and historic moments in American corrections. For many people, Stateville is simply another prison. For those who have studied its history, it represents something much larger. Located in Crest Hill, Illinois, Stateville has operated for nearly a century. During that time, it has housed thousands of inmates, witnessed major changes in correctional policy, and become one of the best-known maximum security prisons in the United States. Its reputation wasn't built overnight. It was shaped by decades of evolving prison practices, changing laws, overcrowding, security challenges, and some of the most closely watched criminal cases in Illinois history. But before anyone enters the facility, one thing immediately stands out. The walls. High concrete barriers surround the prison grounds, topped with layers of fencing and watched from elevated security posts. Every entrance is controlled. Every movement is monitored. Every visitor passes through multiple security checkpoints before stepping inside. Nothing happens by accident here. Every routine has been carefully planned. Every procedure exists for a reason. As the morning shift begins, officers move through secured corridors, performing routine inspections. Keys, radios, identification checks, electronic locks. Everything follows a carefully coordinated system designed to keep both staff and inmates safe. Inside, the pace is surprisingly calm. Unlike the dramatic prison scenes often shown in movies, maximum security institutions depend on structure rather than chaos. Predictability is one of the strongest security tools. Breakfast begins early. Meals are prepared on strict schedules and distributed according to housing assignments. Nutrition standards are established through correctional guidelines. And while few would describe prison meals as luxurious, they are designed to meet basic dietary requirements. For inmates, meal times are more than opportunities to eat. They divide the day into recognizable pieces: morning, afternoon, evening. Without those routines, the days would begin blending together. Once breakfast ends, another carefully managed schedule begins. Some inmates report to educational programs. Others attend vocational training. Some work in approved institutional jobs. Others remain inside their assigned housing units based on custody level or disciplinary status. Contrary to popular belief, life inside a maximum security prison is not identical for every inmate. Housing assignments depend on numerous factors: behavior, security classification, institutional history, medical needs, program eligibility. Correctional staff continually assess these classifications to balance safety with operational needs. One of Stateville's most recognizable architectural features tells another story entirely. Near the center of the prison stands a historic circular housing unit often referred to as the Roundhouse. When it first opened decades ago, its unique design attracted attention from prison officials across the country. Cells surrounded a central observation area, allowing officers to monitor multiple housing tiers from one location. At the time, it was viewed as an innovative correctional design. Over the years, however, prison architecture evolved. New research suggested different housing models offered better visibility, improved safety, and more practical daily operations. While the Roundhouse became an important symbol of correctional history, it also reflected how prison design continued changing over generations. Walking those corridors today feels like stepping into another era. Thick steel doors, concrete walls worn smooth by time, narrow walkways connecting rows of cells. Every surface carries reminders of decades of continuous operation. Yet the prison itself never stands still. Maintenance crews repair aging infrastructure. Engineers inspect security systems. Administrators update procedures. Correctional institutions must constantly adapt to changing standards, technologies, and legal requirements. Outside the prison, many people imagine maximum security facilities as places where every inmate poses the same level of danger. Reality is more complex. Stateville has housed individuals convicted of many different crimes throughout its history. Some inmates serve lengthy sentences. Others await transfers. Some participate actively in educational programs designed to prepare for eventual release. Others may spend years under stricter supervision because of institutional behavior or security classifications. Every person's circumstances are different. That complexity often surprises people unfamiliar with modern corrections. As the morning progresses, officers continue conducting scheduled counts. Accountability is one of the most important parts of prison operations. At multiple points throughout the day, staff verify that every inmate is exactly where institutional records indicate they should be. The process is methodical, careful, repeated. Small mistakes can create large security problems. Precision matters. Visitors rarely witness these behind-the-scenes routines. Most public attention focuses on dramatic court cases or notorious inmates. Far less attention is given to the thousands of routine decisions that allow a large correctional institution to function safely every single day. The people working inside Stateville understand that routine is not boring. Routine is security. As afternoon approaches, movement throughout the institution increases. Some inmates transition between approved programs. Medical appointments begin. Legal visits are conducted. Religious services may take place depending on schedules and institutional operations. Every movement requires authorization. Every destination is documented. Every return is confirmed. Behind each locked door lies another carefully controlled environment. The public often wonders what makes maximum security prisons different from lower security institutions. The answer isn't simply stronger locks. It's the constant coordination. Electronic systems, trained personnel, policies developed over decades, communication between housing units, emergency planning, risk assessments. Every layer works together. Yet despite all this planning, Stateville's history has not been without controversy. Throughout its long existence, the institution has faced questions involving aging infrastructure, overcrowding, correctional reforms, and changing expectations about how prisons should operate. Government agencies, oversight organizations, courts, and correctional officials have all played roles in shaping the prison's evolution. Each decade brought new challenges. Each generation introduced new ideas about security, rehabilitation, and inmate management. No correctional institution remains frozen in time. Neither has Stateville. As evening approaches, another shift change begins. Fresh officers enter secure checkpoints. Reports are exchanged. Housing units are inspected once again. Lights illuminate corridors that have remained active since before dawn. For those living inside these walls, another day has nearly ended. For those beginning the night shift, another has just begun. Because inside Stateville Prison, the routine never truly stops. The lights remain on. The radios continue transmitting. Steel doors continue opening and closing. And somewhere deep inside one of Illinois' most historic correctional institutions, another count is about to begin. But beyond the daily routines and the concrete walls lies a far more complicated story. One involving famous inmates, decades of legal change, major reforms, and the ongoing debate over what a maximum security prison should truly be. As darkness settles over northern Illinois, Stateville Prison enters a different rhythm. The outside world slows down. Inside these walls, the routine continues almost unchanged. Bright security lights wash over the prison grounds. Cameras remain fixed on every movement. Officers continue scheduled patrols, while electronic doors lock and unlock according to carefully controlled procedures. The prison never truly sleeps. Every hour brings another responsibility. Every shift begins where the last one ended. But beyond the daily routines lies the history that made Stateville one of America's most recognized correctional institutions. To understand the prison today, you first have to understand the people who passed through its gates. Over nearly a century, Stateville has housed inmates convicted of some of Illinois' most serious crimes. Some names became nationally known. Others disappeared into history. Yet each arrival tested the prison's ability to balance security with lawful correctional procedures. Maximum security institutions exist for one primary reason. They are designed to safely manage individuals considered higher security risks while maintaining order inside the facility. That mission sounds straightforward. Carrying it out is anything but simple. Every inmate arrives with a different background, different behavior, different medical needs, different legal status. Some are serving life sentences. Some are appealing convictions. Others are awaiting transfer to different facilities. No two situations are exactly alike. Because of that, prison administrators constantly review classification levels. Housing assignments are not permanent. An inmate's behavior inside the prison often influences where they live, what programs they may attend, and which privileges they may receive under institutional policy. This system creates an important incentive. Positive conduct can open opportunities for education, vocational training, counseling, or work assignments where available. Poor institutional behavior can result in restrictions designed to preserve safety. It is a system built around structure, not emotion, not revenge, but maintaining that structure has never been easy. Like many correctional systems across America, Stateville has experienced periods of overcrowding. As prison populations increased during different decades, administrators faced difficult questions. How do you safely house more inmates than the facility was originally designed for? How do you maintain staffing levels? How do you continue educational programs while protecting security? These challenges affected prisons across the country, not only Stateville. Correctional experts, lawmakers, judges, and public officials all debated possible solutions. Some argued for expanded prison construction. Others focused on sentencing reforms. Still others emphasized rehabilitation programs designed to reduce repeat offenses after release. The debate continues today. Inside Stateville, however, officers still had a job to perform every single day regardless of political discussions happening outside the walls. Morning counts, meal distribution, medical escorts, legal visits, program movement, emergency preparedness. Every routine required coordination. Most people imagine prison officers spending their shifts responding to dramatic incidents. The reality is different. Professional correctional work often depends on preventing problems before they begin. Observation, communication, consistency. These are among the most valuable tools inside any secure institution. Experienced officers learn to recognize subtle changes. An unusual conversation, unexpected silence, behavior that suddenly changes without explanation. Small observations can help prevent larger problems later. This constant awareness becomes part of everyday life. Meanwhile, inmates adapt to routines of their own. Some spend hours reading books borrowed through institutional libraries. Others work toward earning educational certificates. Some participate in vocational training intended to provide practical skills after release. Not every inmate chooses these opportunities. But many correctional systems encourage participation because research suggests education and job training can improve successful reintegration into society for eligible individuals. Stateville has been part of that broader correctional evolution. Security remains the priority. Rehabilitation remains an ongoing goal whenever circumstances permit. Balancing both is one of the greatest challenges facing modern prisons. Then there are the parts of prison life that outsiders rarely consider. Medical care, mental health services, religious accommodations, family visitation, legal access. Each operates under policies developed over decades of correctional experience and constitutional requirements. For inmates serving very long sentences, these services become important parts of daily life. Time behaves differently inside prison. Outside the walls, people measure life through birthdays, vacations, holidays, and career milestones. Inside Stateville, time is often measured by institutional routines. Breakfast, count. Program, lunch, count. Dinner, evening lockdown, repeat. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. Routine can create stability, but it can also make time seem almost invisible. Many former inmates have described losing track of seasons. Others remember significant world events occurring while they remained inside the same housing unit, following nearly identical schedules day after day. The prison changes slowly. The outside world changes rapidly. That difference becomes increasingly noticeable during lengthy sentences. Technology evolves. Cities grow. Families change. Children become adults. Yet inside maximum security housing units, the daily structure often remains remarkably consistent. Stateville has also experienced major institutional changes over the decades. Facilities have been renovated. Security technology has advanced dramatically. Electronic monitoring systems now supplement traditional observation. Communication between staff has become faster and more reliable. Emergency response planning continues evolving alongside modern correctional practices. These improvements reflect lessons learned throughout American correctional history. Every institution adapts. Every generation introduces new methods. Still, one part of Stateville continues attracting attention: its history. Few prisons have operated long enough to witness nearly a century of changes in criminal justice. Stateville has seen evolving sentencing laws, court reforms, correctional innovations, changing public attitudes toward incarceration, national conversations about prison conditions. Through all those changes, one constant remained. The prison continued operating every day. Rain or snow, holiday or weekday, day shift or night shift. The work never stopped. Neither did the questions. How much security is enough? How should prisons prepare inmates for eventual release? How should aging facilities be modernized? How should correctional systems respond to changing populations? There are no simple answers. Experts continue studying these issues across the United States. Stateville often becomes part of those discussions because of its long history and prominent place within Illinois corrections. As midnight approaches, another inmate count begins. Housing units fall quiet. Footsteps echo through concrete corridors. Officers carefully verify each assignment. Documentation is completed. Doors remain locked. Cameras continue recording. Outside, most nearby communities sleep peacefully. Inside Stateville, another shift quietly takes over responsibility. The prison remains awake. Always. Because maximum security depends on constant attention. But there is one final chapter to this story. It is not simply about concrete walls or steel doors. It is about the future of Stateville itself, its planned changes, its lasting legacy, and the question that has followed the prison for decades. Can one of America's oldest maximum security prisons continue adapting to the future while carrying the weight of its remarkable past? The first rays of sunlight slowly reach the outer walls of Stateville Prison. For people driving past the facility, it looks almost unchanged. Massive concrete buildings, guard towers standing watch, layers of fencing surrounding nearly a century of correctional history. From a distance, it appears timeless. But behind those walls, change has been happening for years. Not the kind of dramatic change seen in movies. The quieter kind. Policy changes, facility upgrades, court decisions, new correctional philosophies, and growing discussions about what the future of prisons in America should look like. By the time Stateville approached its 100th year of operation, officials faced an important reality. Many parts of the prison had grown old. Infrastructure built decades earlier required increasing maintenance. Plumbing systems needed upgrades. Electrical systems required modernization. Housing units designed generations ago no longer reflected the newest correctional standards. The challenge became larger every year. How do you maintain security, while modernizing one of America's oldest maximum security prisons? The answer would not come easily. Correctional experts, architects, lawmakers, engineers, and state officials all became part of the conversation. Some believed extensive renovations could preserve the historic institution. Others argued that entirely new facilities would better serve both staff and inmates. These discussions extended far beyond Stateville itself. Across the United States, correctional systems faced similar questions. Many prisons built during the 20th century were reaching the limits of their original designs. Technology had advanced. Security expectations had changed. Medical care inside prisons had become more complex. Mental health services required additional space. Educational and vocational programs continued expanding where possible. Modern correctional institutions demanded different resources than prisons built nearly 100 years earlier. Stateville became one of the clearest examples of this nationwide challenge. Yet despite aging buildings, daily operations continued. Every morning, correctional officers still reported for duty. Every housing unit still followed established schedules. Medical personnel continued treating patients. Kitchen workers prepared thousands of meals. Maintenance crews repaired equipment. Administrative staff managed countless records. The prison never stopped functioning simply because it was old. That consistency reflected something many people outside corrections rarely see. Prisons are enormous logistical operations. Running one safely requires coordination between hundreds of professionals. Correctional officers, nurses, doctors, counselors, teachers, maintenance technicians, food service employees, administrative staff, security specialists. Each plays a different role. Each contributes to the same mission: safe and lawful operation. For inmates serving lengthy sentences, these routines continue regardless of events happening beyond the prison walls. News reaches the facility gradually. New laws, election results, technological breakthroughs, economic changes, major sporting events. The world keeps moving. Inside prison, daily schedules remain remarkably steady. That contrast shapes prison life in powerful ways. Many former inmates have described feeling as though the outside world accelerated while their own lives followed a far slower pace. Years pass. Families grow older. Communities change. Entire neighborhoods transform. Meanwhile, prison routines often remain familiar from one month to the next. This passage of time creates one of incarceration's least visible effects: distance. Not measured only in miles, measured in experience. People outside continue building new memories. Inside, life revolves around institutional structure. For some inmates approaching eventual release, correctional staff work to reduce that distance through educational opportunities, vocational programs, counseling, and reentry preparation where appropriate. These programs recognize an important reality: most incarcerated individuals nationwide will eventually return to their communities. Preparation matters. Successful reintegration benefits both former inmates and society as a whole. Not every inmate qualifies. Not every sentence ends with release. But correctional systems increasingly recognize that rehabilitation can reduce future crime when combined with accountability and public safety. This evolving philosophy reflects decades of criminal justice research. Stateville has been part of that larger transformation. Security remains essential. Accountability remains necessary. But many correctional professionals also believe prisons should encourage positive change whenever possible. Balancing these goals is never simple. Public expectations differ. Political priorities change. Legal decisions reshape correctional practices. Yet every day, institutions like Stateville continue adapting. One policy at a time. One improvement at a time. One generation at a time. As discussions about Stateville's future continued, another reality became impossible to ignore. The prison had become more than a correctional institution. It had become part of American criminal justice history. Researchers studied its architecture. Historians documented its evolution. Journalists reported on its changing role. Former staff shared memories spanning decades. Former inmates reflected on experiences that shaped their lives forever. Few prisons have influenced public conversations about corrections for so long. Stateville's legacy extends beyond Illinois. It represents an entire era of American prison history, an era that continues evolving today. Technology now supports security in ways unimaginable when the prison first opened. Digital communication improves coordination. Modern surveillance systems enhance observation. Electronic records improve accountability. Training standards continue advancing. Correctional work has become increasingly professionalized through education, specialized instruction, and ongoing development. The image many people hold of prisons often comes from television or movies. Reality is usually much quieter, much more procedural, much more structured. Every locked door, every scheduled movement, every inmate count, every inspection, every report. Together, they form an enormous system designed to maintain order while operating within constitutional and legal requirements. That work rarely makes headlines, yet it continues every single day. As evening falls once again, another shift prepares to begin. Floodlights illuminate the perimeter. Control rooms monitor hundreds of cameras. Officers exchange briefings. Electronic doors respond to secure commands. Inside the housing units, another count begins exactly as it has thousands of times before. The routine feels familiar, predictable, almost timeless. But beneath that routine, change continues. Facilities evolve. Policies improve. New generations of correctional professionals bring new ideas. The future of Stateville may look different from its past, but its role in American correctional history will remain significant. Because prisons are more than buildings. They reflect society's changing ideas about justice, about accountability, about rehabilitation, about public safety. Stateville has witnessed nearly a century of those changing ideas. And through every decade, one thing remained remarkably consistent. When the city sleeps, when nearby neighborhoods fall silent, when highways empty beneath the night sky, Stateville continues its work. The lights remain on. The radios continue transmitting. Officers continue walking the corridors. Another inmate count begins. Another shift takes responsibility. Another day quietly becomes another night. Inside the prison that never sleeps, the routine never truly ends. And perhaps that is Stateville's greatest story. Not one famous inmate, not one historic event, not one controversial headline, but the extraordinary reality that for nearly a century, behind walls most people never enter, thousands of ordinary routines have quietly shaped one of America's most historic maximum security prisons. The prison stands as a reminder that correctional institutions are constantly evolving, reflecting the ongoing balance between security, justice, rehabilitation, and public safety. Its history continues to inform discussions about the future of corrections, long after each day's final count is complete.